So, how does a brilliant Harvard grad end up at a totally notorious Wall Street firm, lose his way, and then have to completely reinvent himself to become this celebrated value investor? Well, let's dive into Guy Spier's incredible story of transformation. It's a real journey from moral compromise to, well, profound integrity. And right here, this is the paradox at the very heart of his story. I mean, think about that. How can the absolute worst decision of your life also be a gift? It's such a powerful idea, and it really sets the stage for a tale of hitting rock bottom and then finding a much, much better way forward. All right, so where did this all begin? Well, it started with all the promise in the world. But as you're about to see, Spier took a very sharp and very prestigious-looking wrong turn. I mean, just imagine it. You graduate from Harvard, you're full of optimism. That was Guy Spier. He lands a job as a VP at an investment bank called D.H. Blair. And on the surface, that looks like a huge win, right? But he had no idea he was stepping into what he would later call the New York vortex. You see, the environment at D.H. Blair was just toxic. It wasn't about smart, sound investing. No, it was this culture of pure, cutthroat competition where profit was the only thing that mattered. Spier found himself surrounded by all these shady deals, everything from cold fusion to some pretty questionable space projects, and it was all driven by this complete disregard for ethics. He was totally caught in a cycle of ambition and moral compromise. You know, every great story of redemption has that turning point, right? That moment where you kind of have to break down to break through. For Guy Spier, this came in the form of, believe it or not, a firewalk. After finally escaping D.H. Blair, Spier wasn't celebrated. He was basically tainted. He tried interviewing at these big, prestigious firms like Goldman Sachs, but his resume was a giant red flag. He was seen as damaged goods. And the constant rejection, it led to despair and this really deep sense of failure. He had officially hit his low point. So how in the world did he pull himself out of it? It started pretty unexpectedly. Spier, and he admits this himself, had to overcome his own intellectual snobbery and decided to attend a Tony Robbins seminar. And there, he did the famous firewalk, that symbolic act of walking over hot coals. For Spier, this was not just some stunt. It was this huge moment of breaking through his own mental limits. And that one act, it ignited this passion to completely re-educate himself. He turned right to the foundational principles of value investing. Spier realized that to truly change, he couldn't do it alone. He needed new role models, new mentors to guide his whole new philosophy on investing and on life. And this was a huge insight for him, one that was really influenced by Warren Buffett himself. Who you surround yourself with directly shapes who you become. To escape that toxic mindset from D.H. Blair, Spier knew he had to go out and actively seek mentors who really embodied integrity, kindness, and genuine success. So Spier was now choosing between two completely different worlds. His old world was basically Machiavellian. It was all about self-interest, deception, and focusing on what other people think of you, the outer scorecard. But this new path, the one modeled by mentors like Warren Buffett and Mohnish Pabrai, was the total opposite. It was about authenticity, generosity, and focusing on your own internal values, the inner scorecard. Okay, so this big philosophical shift then led to a very practical toolkit because, it wasn't enough to just change his thinking. Spier had to build an actual system to protect himself from his own worst instincts and emotional biases. He came up with this set of simple but really powerful rules to design an environment for rational thinking. So first, stop checking prices constantly to avoid that emotional roller coaster. Second, if someone tries to sell you something, just don't buy it, period. That way you sidestep their sales agenda. Third, don't talk to management, because that helps you avoid their charismatic but often biased reality distortion fields. And finally, number 4, only trade when the market is closed to stop you from making impulsive, in-the-moment decisions. You see the crucial point here? All of these rules are about creating distance and space for clear, rational thought. He also adopted another incredibly powerful tool, this one inspired by the surgeon Atul Gawande, the checklist. Spier understood that investing is just too complex and high stakes to rely on memory alone. This isn't about intelligence, it's all about discipline. A checklist acts like a final circuit breaker, forcing you to do a systematic review that counteracts our brain's natural tendency to take shortcuts, especially when we're under pressure. It's basically a survival tool to keep you from making the same mistakes over and over. And all of this brings us to the ultimate lesson of Guy Spier's entire education, really the core of his whole transformation. After everything, the shame of D.H. Blair, the struggle to reinvent himself, the re-education, Spier came to a really simple truth. Success wasn't the number in his bank account, and it certainly wasn't what Wall Street thought of him. Nope. True success was living a life of integrity, finding personal fulfillment, and just being at peace with himself. And the guiding principle that Spier ultimately embraced comes from, you guessed it, Warren Buffett himself. It's very important always to live your life by an inner scorecard, not an outer scorecard. It really is all about defining your worth by your own character and your own values, not by the world's applause. You know, Spier's journey from that New York vortex to a life of authenticity is such a powerful lesson for all of us. And it really forces us to ask ourselves, what are the values that truly guide our decisions? When it really matters, what's on your inner scorecard?